Hey there, welcome, Wednesday Live. So, it was a good day of work, and I had a good walk with the dogs, and dinner's done, and now it's kind of time for, it's getting in time for bed. But I thought I'd step out and just turn the camera on for a little bit. I was reading a news article today that made me think. While I was walking the dogs, I read about how the current isolation that we have for the staying home is having an effect on people medically, and how um, a lot of it is traced to medical conditions that are stemming from challenges up here, namely stress, that over weeks and months begins to manifest itself in different ways. For example, the article said that an alarming number of people are losing their hair. That's one effect of stress. Another one is by literally, the article said by handfuls, particularly women. Another one was insomnia, that treatments for sleeplessness have gone up drastically. Of course, people are having a tough time balancing responsibilities at home, especially when they have, small ones around the house to take care of. And it was really the article. It's one of those articles where you finish reading it, and before you move on to something else, you just put it aside. You put it aside, try to think about it for a little bit. And for me, it's kind of a call to empathy. Whoops! Oh goodness, what did I do? Okay, sorry about that. It's a call to empathy because it's always been a challenge for me to try to feel the pain of others, and it's not because I don't care. It's hmm, you know it it's a struggle to say that it's not because I don't care, because I do genuinely care. For example, during my walk today, I was walking the dogs over here a little further around. It has long, big, huge block. And as I was coming along the walkway with my dogs, the sidewalk, I saw someone huddled over on the sidewalk. It was it's like a half-mile stretch. So I could see someone huddled on the sidewalk. Something was going on. I determined it was a human being, and I thought it took me a little bit to realize, hey, something's going on over there, right? It wasn't quite right. They're not tying their shoes. They're not picking up something. And the first thought that went to my mind was that maybe an animal had been struck by a car, maybe a dog or a cat, and that person had that animal on the sidewalk and was attending to them or something. As I got closer, I realized it was a young man. He was indeed bent over, but I wasn't sure quite what it was. So as I got real close, I decided to move off of the sidewalk and get up into the grassy area, and I had to pick up my little dog Rudy because he barks like crazy. And if I pick him up, if I hold him, he won't bark. As we came along, I could crouch down, and I could see the man, and he was huddled over. I could see what he was huddled over. He had one of those electric skateboards, that you can power with the thing. He was probably 21 years old, young and fit, very, very fit, wearing tank top and shorts, and he had sandals on. And I could see that what he was crouched over was a quite mangled and bloodied big toe on his left foot. And I stopped and I looked over. I was kind of a distance away from him, and I simply said, "Are you all right? Can I help you?" I had my mask on, so I kind of took it off because we were far away, so he could hear me clearly. "Are you all right? Can I help you?" And he looked up at me, and he's an adult man, young man though, and he had this look in his eyes like someone who didn't quite know what to do. He knew he wasn't going to die, but he didn't know what to do. It was 6:20 p.m. on a Wednesday night, and he said, "What do you think?" He said, "Should I go to the hospital?" So I came a little closer, still keeping a social distance. I could assess it from a distance, and I looked at it, and I could see that it was pretty bad. And I had done the same thing once, almost the same spot, exactly the same thing on a skateboard at night. My dog, first dog, Ollie pulling me along, and I'm skating along, sandals, shorts, tank top, the exact same thing. I hit a thing. This happened about 2.5, 3 years ago. I hit an edge on the sidewalk, and I just went flying through the air. And I did exactly what he did, was to arrest the fall. I'd stuck my foot out, my sandaled foot, and just mangled my big toe, just exactly the way he did. Although I had a lot more blood, but he looked like his nail was in pretty bad shape. I ended up losing my big toenail in that incident. I didn't go anywhere or do anything because I cleaned it. I just went home and cleaned it up. But so I said, where do you live? My thought was I would come over and get my car and take him to the hospital, to the emergency room, because I thought that he might need it. He was in pretty bad. It was in pretty bad shape, and he said that his roommate was already on the way. So I stuck with him. I stayed with him and talked and kind of distracted him with small talk. Right? I asked about his schooling. He was from Hong Kong, and he'd been here since he was 13 years old, and he'd lived in a number of different American states, and had just recently graduated from the University of California, Irvine, which is UCI, and he was preparing to take a year off and go explore. He lived on both coasts of the United States, and he was prepared to go explore the middle of America. And I told him, it's a very different country away from the coasts. My mission was simply to distract him, so he wasn't thinking about the toe. Every now and then he would look at it, but we had a good talk. And then finally, the little white car pulled up. It was his friend. He hopped in, and off they went to the emergency room. As I started telling the story, I didn't start this to tell that story, but I started telling the story to talk about the empathy. I mean, so I do have empathy, but at the same time, I've always been maybe kind of a fatalist, right? So when bad things happen, I kind of see them as just as something that happens, right? Although I do genuinely feel for people. But the point is, reading that article, so all the way back to that article about the way that people are suffering through this pandemic, and particularly through social distancing and isolation, is having an effect. Let's take a move, because I just realized how loud the whatever that is that started up. It's been on there for a while. Let's take a move. I wanted to stop and think about that for a little bit. Let's move right over here. I don't know if you guys could hear that. That was so loud. I'll go sit right over here. Not by the fountain. It's too loud too. Or maybe over here. This is nice. And so the reason I started this, I thought I would ask all of you about how this new world we live in, and the current circumstances, might be affecting your health, and your maybe even your mental well-being, if you're willing to share about that. And I'll begin. I have suffered physically, insofar as I've had problems with my legs in the last couple of weeks, more than a month now, and I think it was from just so much sitting that I've been doing. And Mimiko helped me to get a standing desk, which really helped. So I literally spend 3/4 to the entire day. Today I spent the entire day, 9 hours plus, maybe 9.5 hours, standing on my feet. And I sat down for 20 minutes during one part of a long meeting, and that's really helped with that. But for me, the battle has been more up here with one particular thing. Um, I'm I, I I've always, as the primary bread earner in my family, wage earner, or whatever that is, I've always been worried about. Well, you guys know my story. If you follow me long enough, you know that I suffered loss of everything in 2007, 2008, that when the economy collapsed, and nearly had my family homeless on the streets, and that left a deep impression upon me. Never want to be in that situation again. So I've always been scared of that kind of thing, and try to do my best to, protect us from that. But if I was to lose my job, that would be a disaster, and that's the thing that I worry about the most. Is that the conditions will worsen, and that the place where I work will eventually choose to let me go. Maybe in a rather rapid fashion. Well, even if it wasn't rapid, it would be really rough for me. So the way that, and that's the kind of thing that actually keeps me up at night. And so I've always tried to work hard. I always try to do a good job, but I'm really trying to do especially a good job, make myself very useful. I want to be the person, or I don't want to be the person. I don't want anybody else to go either, but I want to be a person that the place needs. I've always wanted to be that for all my employers. So yeah, and that bothers me a lot. I think about it a lot, especially like right now, the job that I'm doing. There was an incident that occurred. I won't share any details. That was not within the control of the city that I work in. It was totally outside of our control, but it left our projects um, like a boat not in the water for about 3 weeks. And you could feel it's like trying to run a race when you can't, when you're not wearing your shoes and your feet are tied or you're sitting down. We got to race. We got to race. So it's been a trouble for me, and I imagine it will be that way until Emily is basically on her own, out of college, out of her own, and we've got that part of our life responsibility complete. We'll see though. I do have a backup plan, and one of these videos I'll share with you the details of it. I've alluded to it in the past, but I do have a backup plan, and about every month when my worry gets particularly troublesome, I'll sit down with my wife and we'll reiterate the steps of that plan. So, because knowing that she's on board with me about the backup plan makes it when I worry, it helps to know at least that. And she's especially with the few times that she's told me, she says, be careful, we've got our backup plan. Let's read some comments. Six Sigma 6. Hi. This is a mask to cover financial collapse. COVID is an excuse for a collapse of our monetary system. Well, there's an interesting idea. John, I think I'm grinding my teeth more at night these days. John, that was actually one on the list. Dental issues, cracked teeth, teeth that are, that was actually on the list in the article that I read. Teeth issues. So yeah, interesting. Thank you for sharing that, John. Chico says, hi, Kurt. Hi, Chico. Englandese, I think I finally said your name right. Hi, Kurt. Looking forward to Saturday. Me too. I'm really looking forward to that. I asked Molly to send me the picture of the old two guys on the bench that we used to use. So I changed that. It's actually, I don't know how it shows up, but it's scheduled so it shows up. If you find it, you'll see that photo. Michael, why do you see things as fatalistic? Also, hi. Oh, well, maybe not fatalistic. That's probably the right, and I know I use that word. It's just simply that I don't believe in free will. I kind of think that everything is a consequence of, from the very moment of the Big Bang, that we are unfolding complex, either chemical or biological reactions. That there's so much at play that maybe it's not fate, but the way I like to say it is that I can make any choice that I want, although the choices that I do make are the only choices that I could have ever made. So it's my way of expressing my faith-based position that we don't have free will. Yes, it is a faith-based position. I can't prove that we don't have free will. There's no way for me to get in a time machine and demonstrate that I could lift this hand instead of this hand at that particular moment. But I'm strongly suspicious that that's the case. So it was my wrong to call it fatalistic. It's more of maybe not quite determinism, but I think the word that all the cool kids use these days is compatibilism. I think I'm a compatibilist, which is really just another way for determinism. No need to move. No need to. Oh, well, the sound wasn't too bad over there. Thank you for telling me, Chico. How about the water sound? Can you hear the water in the fountain back there? Is it loud? At least it wasn't a cicada. You're bringing back memories there. Yes, indeed. I do remember those cicada. The GTA alcoholic. What does your name mean, by the way? Hello, great to see you online. It's good to see you again. Just yesterday we were together. And make this go down a little bit. Michael Rader says, for me, it has been my relationship with food. Whenever something stressful happens, I lean towards food. 2 years ago, I went vegan to avoid my food issues, but my vices always find a way around it. Interesting. So, under these circumstances, Michael, are you eating more and worse? I am. I will. If actually, Yumiko bought me new pants this week um, because my old pants simply didn't fit. I was wearing size 34 waist, and she went out and bought me 36 with 30-inch inseams. So I'm now 36, 30. I remember when it used to be 30, 32. So I'm shrinking. I'm shrinking and getting whiter. But so I understand. I understand that. Yumiko and I both do something we really never did before, which is comfort food in the evening. We pretty much have dessert every night: ice cream, apple pies. I've even made a pumpkin pie one night. And there's Trevor. Hi, Trevor. Trevor, thank you for sharing that article. Just a moment. I'm going to talk about that. I think this situation is negatively affecting my sleep patterns. Interesting, Trevor. Are you finding that is that because you can't get to sleep, if you don't mind me asking? Or are you simply, um, are you like getting up and doing something in the middle of the night or whatever it is? What is it? Trevor, by the way, Trevor sent me an interesting article via email, and I really enjoyed it. It was an article about a man from, Trevor, wasn't it Czechoslovakia? One of the old former Soviet pact countries on Eastern Europe there, who escaped the Soviet Union by by making a homemade glider in 1984. And Trevor, I remember that incident. I was in high school then. I think that was our. I was 20 years old then, and I remember that incident. I was 2 years out of high school. And anyway, this man wound up in the Utah desert buying like a kind of, what was it, Trevor? Like a little town. He bought like an airport on 400 acres and built himself a hangar, and he lives out there all by himself. And the article was about his experience. Thank you for sharing that with me, Trevor. That was really interesting. Hence K2 says, "Hi, Kurt. Did you meet your wife before you went to Japan the first time?" No. I met Yumiko after that. So what happened was in about the same time, 1984, about the same time that that guy escaped from, was it Czechoslovakia? I can't quite remember what. I had a summer job hosting and teaching Japanese high school students here in LA. That's how the whole Japan thing started. I had like 12 students, and they all went back. When they went back to Japan, they all invited me to come over. So I bought a plane ticket, and I went to Japan, and I traveled like to 12 different cities all over the main island of Honshu. And I didn't know Yumiko then, but I did. I did go to Shizuoka, and I stayed with one of my students, who was not actually one of my students, a friend of my students, who was the daughter of a Zen Buddhist priest at a Zen temple in downtown Shizuoka. And I've told the story before. The daughter was a heavy metal rocker, and I was remember one time being with the priest doing his service, and we could hear like Black Sabbath upstairs. The daughter was playing the records, and he stormed upstairs and told her to knock that off. Anyway, I was only about 4 or 5 miles away from Yumiko at that time, but long before I met her. Then it wasn't after I came back and I went to university that my interest in Japan had grown, and I met Yumiko shortly after that. So you're showing your kanji is oni, an ogre. But are you a red oni, or are you a green oni? Paco says, "Say Curtis might be sudden." Say Curtis might be sudden. I don't get it. The GTA alcoholic. I called friends that I haven't spoke to in years. It felt good to reconnect to old friends. I had a fear so maybe they didn't want to reconnect. Are you saying that the COVID-19 situation prompted you to do that? Is that what it is? What a wonderful thing to have a moment like this, or a prompt reconnection. That's wonderful. But what music do you like? What music do I like? I like really everything. But I tend to, in my playlist, I tend to follow pop music. I like contemporary pop music. I like Kiss FM. So I'll have Kiss FM on the radio, so it's constantly exposing me to what the young people are listening to. When I was a Lyft driver, I let people plug in their music into the car, so I got to listen to whatever the 20-somethings were listening to at the time. For myself, I tend to listen to 70s, 80s, 90s classic rock, things like that. I'm a big fan of America, the group. You know, Gordon Lightfoot, Neil Diamond. Any hit kind of hippie music. I like everything. Oh, of course, Pink Floyd. My name is Christopher. Sorry. Oh, okay. Oh, it's okay, Christopher. I was just wondering what the GTA alcoholic stands for. What is a GTA, I wonder? Mari says, I have similar issues with Michael. I'm balancing a full-time job and school, so I'm just so emotionally exhausted all the time. I find myself going to food for comfort. It's a real struggle. Interesting. Full-time job and school. That must be really tough, Maddie. Wow. My daughter Emily, uh, today decided to cut out about two. She was taking six classes, I think, or five classes, and she cut it down to three. And what she did was she came to me and she said, "Dad, I'm thinking about changing my focus a little bit." By the way, she's hoping to get into UCLA, so she set her eyes pretty high. So she's decided to, instead of taking a heavy load, a lot of classes, she's going to take fewer classes, and she's going to go for the honors program. And she's going for a linguistics degree and a business minor at UCLA. So she's beginning to take her academics she's always has. She's ever since she came to America, she's taken her academics very seriously. She told me something today that was really interesting. Um, she was telling me how she and I went to lunch. She was home today, and we had a vegan burger place we went to. And she was telling me, I was asking her about her experience of coming to America and going to high school. And she said that for the first 2 years, she couldn't follow what was going on in the classes well enough. So she made it a habit of, after school, she would go around to all of her professors and ask them for a synopsis. So can you please tell me what we were talking about today and what my assignment is? And I told her, well, that's pretty impressive that you did that. And she says, well, I didn't want anybody, I was too afraid to raise my hand because the people would know that I didn't understand English very well. By the way, Emily has a request. She's more than willing to join these lives with me. She said, if you guys have questions for her, if you send them to me, dinnerbytheriver@gmail.com. I should put that up. I should put up a banner. You know what? Let me try to do that real quick. Wonder if I can do that. Can I make a new one? No. Hold on. Topic one. Let's make this one. Can I edit it? Here. Edit. Here. Bear with me while I do this. I'm going to put my email address up, okay? Dinner by the river. River. Dinner by the river at gmail.com. That's not it. Com. Let's see how this works out. Done. Scroll. Save. Go. There's my email. If you send me an email at that email address down that's scrolling at the bottom of the screen with your question for Emily, anything at all, she and I are going to do a live event like this, and she'll answer questions. It's really interesting that she's so interested in doing that with me. She's really turned a corner in terms of that. Let me go back down and find the last comment. Da, da, da. Oh, wow, here we go. Okay, I work from home like you. I have been having issues with. Okay, here we go. Well, that's a lot of questions. Eat more. Okay, so Maddie was talking about job and school. Good luck with that, Maddie. She says, hope you also had a great day, Kurt. I did have a good day. Thank you for asking, Maddie. It started off as a challenging day. I have anxiety in the morning. I'll speak frankly. Mornings are the hardest time of the day for me because I set high expectations for myself from my job, and my job is really, really hard. I'm sure your job is hard too. I'm sure everybody's job is hard. I think it's hard because I take it. I always try to take all my work seriously, and then so I set high expectations, and it takes a lot out of me throughout the day. And by the end of the day, if I feel like a good job, I feel better by this time, and then I get to go to sleep, right? Trevor says basically an abandoned airport. Yeah, that's what it was, an abandoned airport. But I think when he bought it, it had just a runway, right? And he had to build that hangar, right? At least that's what I read in the article. Michael says, yeah, I eat more. I binge eat a lot more frequently than I used to. And whenever I do, that mental state for the rest of the day is often terrible. Then that mentality just feeds into itself. I know exactly what you're talking about, Michael. I have I get this thing when I eat carbs in the day. I typically have an egg and a piece of toast for breakfast, and then I usually try to have something healthy for lunch, usually chili that I make on my own, and then whatever I have for dinner, whatever my wife makes, but she makes great food. But usually, if I have something that's carb heavy, like if I make oh, heaven forbid, I do this, I'm guilty of this since coming back to America. I will keep a little peanut butter jelly, take a single slice of bread and put peanut butter and jelly, fold it in half and eat that. It, it like sabotages my mentally for the afternoon. It satisfies that immediate thing. But, and then it's like, I ask myself, why do I do this? Why the hell do I do this? So is that what you're talking about, Michael? But I do it nonetheless. One thing that I've done recently that's kind of helped is that we have a big thing of eggs, and instead of that, I'll just keep the skillet out and just scramble up a quick egg and wolf that down, and that doesn't seem to carb me out. Also, I've been keeping packs of natto around, Japanese fermented soybeans, and I'll kind of whip that out and slurp that down, and that does the job too. Although it's not as satisfying as that PB&J, right? Chico says, COVID hit me hard. I had been losing weight since November and had lost a little over 60 pounds, but due to COVID, I have managed to gain some back. Wow, you lost a lot of weight. That's a concern. Was it because you weren't eating so much? Or, I mean, well, clearly, right? Or why was it that you couldn't eat? And what changed? Czechoslovakia, indeed, yes. Chico says, I work from home and like you, I have been having issues with my circulation because I find myself sitting for a long time. I proctor college exams and it's hard for me to just get up and walk around. Yeah, that would be tough. You know what I did, Chico? Was one thing was having the standing desk liberated me. I also, when I have meetings, I'm a project manager, so I have lots of meetings. I can have 5, 7, even I've had as many as 10 meetings in a single day, sometimes two at once, one on the phone, one on the computer at the same time. I usually like to have the camera on. I've been taking moments where I turn the camera off. If someone else has got a moment of talking, and I'll turn the camera off, mute myself, and I'll do squats. I'll even sit down on the carpet and do sit-ups, do jumping jacks. My two dogs are sitting on the bed staring at me like, what are you up to? And that's really helped a lot. And I've been starting to lose a little weight as a result. Michael says, yeah, Maddie, it's hard. I just graduated college and am also juggling a job. And I agree it is emotionally exhausting and makes it very easy to cave into temptations. I really feel for you guys. You just graduated college and you're juggling a job. How's that going, Michael? Is this a job in the career path that you want to go in, or something that you're using to get you by until you can find a way into something that you want to do, and do you know what you want to do? Maddie says, Michael, I got prescribed I hope you don't mind reading it. It's like a conversation between the two of you. I'm eavesdropping. Wellbutrin, by my doctor. Maybe look into it. It's helped a lot with my depression and binge eating. I'm glad to hear that you found something that helps with that. I've suffered depression myself, back in my 30s in particular, and I know that feeling of it's not just being down, it's being trapped with nowhere to go, no way to escape, no knowledge of the way out. Um, it seems to be that age has somehow done something to me to make that kind of go away. So instead, it's more like anxiety now. Anxiety about the responsibilities that I hold. And it's interesting. I'm glad to hear it. And thank you for sharing, Maddie. I'm glad you found that is helping you. Hence K2 says, interesting. Thanks for sharing. I hadn't heard of that before. The GTR says, I used to play a video game. No kidding. I'm streaming right now on 3 platforms. One, because I'm using SteamerYard. So this stream is going to YouTube, my softypapa channel, going to Facebook, my softypapa page, and it's also going to Twitch, which I told Emily about that. She's like, Twitch is for gamers. I said, oh, you can use it for other things too. But while I was setting it up, I checked that out, and I saw this guy playing a game, and he had 56,000 people watching. So I watched it for a little bit, and it was the most fascinating game I'd ever seen. It was It was I started off with like a pachinko machine with like 400 balls, and they released all the balls released at once, and they go down through the little things, and then they funneled through the thing, and they went into like a slot car race, like 400 balls. But each of the balls was a person, and they were, energy and gravity and the laws of physics and just coincidence was causing them to be the one would be the, there's no skill involved, right? It was just chance whether you're going to be the leader or not. So I watched that for a little bit. It was utterly fascinating, and that cycles back to my theory about my hypothesis about life, that we have no free will. I think indeed we are like those balls jostling around, gravity, chance, where we are wound up in the pick of things, are contribute to who and what we are. Michael, at Maddie, as hippy dippy as it sounds, I personally want to avoid medications and try to fix things holistically, but I 100% understand the need for medications. You know what, Michael and Maddie, if I can chime in on your conversation, I had that experience too when I had depression in my 30s. I went and saw a doctor who had me go to see what do you call them? Is it a psychiatrist that can prescribe medications? And I was prescribed some medication for depression, and I will tell you it did work, but it also dulled something, and I eventually stopped using it. But I know what you're talking about, Michael, as well. It's like there's a give and a take, right? It took away the edge of the depression, but it also took away the edge of something else. Maddie, at Michael, I feel like I'm eavesdropping on your conversation. So uh, I feel that I'm kind of similar. Getting meds waste a lot was a last resort. Haha. But I'll tell you, Maddie, there are sometimes those last resorts, right? And that's not something to be taken lightly. And I hope that you will. If I'm well, if you're taking meds, clearly you've seen somebody, right? I hope that that's not. Maybe I don't know how old you are, but for someone my generation, there was some stigma to that, and it was tough for me to go see somebody. And I remember I scheduled because I was depressed in my 30s, in my early 30s, pretty seriously depressed. Actually, I had picked a bridge I was going to jump off of. That's pretty serious. And so I remember I decided I needed help. So I made an appointment with my general practitioner for a physical exam, and he came walking in, and he said, "So you're here for a physical?" I said, "No, doctor, I'm not here for a physical. I'm here because I need you to help me know where to go, because I've got problems of depression, and I don't know where to go." And he referred me. He did very professional, very upfront. I was very embarrassed. I was very upset about the whole thing. All the emotions that come with that, right? With depression, and I was desperately scared. I mean, I don't think I would have jumped off that bridge, but the very fact that my mind had selected a bridge to jump off of, to end my life, scared the crap out of me. Because I thought, if my brain can get that far ahead of me, how much further did it take to actually do the act? So the doctor did. He referred me to a counselor first, who then referred me to a psychiatrist. And then after I saw the psychiatrist and I got the prescription of the meds, I continued to see the counselor for about 2 years, and she was very helpful. And eventually I dropped off the meds, and after about 2 years, I stopped seeing the counselor. And for the most part, life has been pretty normal since then. She really did. Her name was Carrie, and Carrie really did help me to clear away some of the cobwebs in my mind, and and that was what eventually led us to come back to Japan. Well, a number of things. This was about 8 years or so before, or maybe a decade before the whole softypapa thing started. But yeah, well, I'll go on and on. Heidi, hi, Kurt. Hi there, Wumberto. Good to see you. I still have a couple of comments on YouTube videos that I need to get Emily to answer for you. Uh, Maddie, I'm glad it's been working for you. I am glad to hear that too. Epic, so nice to see you. Thank you. Hensuke, I'm vegetarian. How do you feel after going vegan? Um, Interesting that you say that. For the most part, I feel good. There have been a couple of times that I've definitely noticed not quite that energetic. So I do something that's kind of a cheat. For example, I have two jobs. So on Sunday, I teach teenagers to drive, which is a challenging job, but it also requires a lot of mental acuity. I have to be sharp, right? So I do allow myself. I will go to. Shh, don't tell anybody. I go to Denny's on Sunday morning, and I get a grand pancakes, two pieces of bacon and two pieces of sausage and the whole thing and a cup of coffee. And because I just, that's my protein boost for the day. Every once in a while, I'll cheat if I just feel like my balance is a little bit off. But for the most part, it seems to be working pretty good. It's supposed to snow soon where I'm at. Do you miss snow at all since you moved to California? Well, actually, Shizuoka didn't snow either. The only time I ever saw snow was up on looking at Mount Fuji, which you could kind of measure the seasons because I would see Fuji every day, right? And you could measure it by watching the snow go up to the top and then disappear in the summer and then come back. In fact, I think I've got a video out there called "The First Snow on Fuji." Do you guys know I have a channel called Mount Fuji Videos? I've got 20 channels on YouTube. Sometimes I forget I've even got these things. Umberto, Emily is a little bundle of potential, 8 at the moment. I have a feeling she's going to achieve so much. It's fascinating how her interest in politics. She is talking to me constantly about these things. You're right. And I don't want to go on and on, but she's maturing into a more, she was kind of a late bloomer in terms of not being childish. So she's almost 20. She'll be 20 next month, but she's really starting to act like an adult. Michael Rader, at Hence. As long as you know what to eat and how much of it you need, it's been great. Any diet that consists of a healthy amount of veggies, you will be killing it. That sounds good. And maybe it's because of Yumiko's. She makes Japanese meals all the time, and they're heavy veggies. Lots of pickles, natto, and the like. So it's not. And she extracts all the meat or keeps the meat out. 2020 not easy. I fall back on eating for comfort. 2020 has been a hell of a ride. I'll tell you guys, there are some times that I do kind of just wish that you know that what the thing I told you about before, I worry about losing my job. It's almost like, you just want to rip the bandage off. It's just, let's just get it over with. So I can distract myself with the dismantling this life and starting anew. I enjoy that. But I don't want that to happen because that would mean my projects didn't go well. And I want the projects to go well because it makes the world a better place in a small way. Michael, yeah, Kurt, learning how to substitute out those cravings with a healthy alternative is difficult, and I should try and find quick, convenient, healthy alternatives to those unhealthy, binge-worthy foods. Yeah, the problem, Michael, is that it's just not satisfying, right? I mean, I will fully confess I give in to the little half peanut butter and jelly sandwich because it's so damn good, right? I just don't want to have friggin' natto or a damn fried egg or a scrambled egg, right? I totally feel you. It's funny how we try to beat that out, right? Sometimes we don't win. Drinking wine is the worst for putting on weight. I've gained 2 stone in the last 12 months. No kidding. Wow. Drinking for me is an interesting one. It's an on and off again all my life. Most of my life I haven't drunk at all. I'm not a drinker, even though I was raised by drinkers. A lot of alcohol in my family. I just never had an interest in it. I'm very much a lightweight. In Japan, I always tried to be a good Japanese man and drink a bottle of beer at dinner, but I couldn't usually finish it. Lately, I've been making margaritas. I told you guys this. I've been making what I call slutty margaritas at night. So make it up in the blender and then dish out a little bit of a glass for me and my wife and daughter, like a little glass each. It's kind of fun. It kind of takes the edge off. Out of curiosity, if you hadn't met your wife and had Emily, how different do you think your life would be? Perhaps more adventures or taking risks that you maybe wouldn't having a family? Yeah, you know what though, AB Ducky, it's a really interesting question, and I have thought of that before. I think that if I hadn't found Yumiko, I would have found somebody like her. I think that Yumiko, even though I enjoy adventure and I've lived a relatively adventurous life, not compared to some, right? But in my own small way. I think I would have been lost without a strong woman, basically, because I'm heterosexual. Although there was a moment when I was hitchhiking. I don't know if I ever should tell this story. There was a moment when I was hitchhiking. This is like I was like 15 and a half or something like that, 16. I was hitchhiking through San Francisco. You couldn't really hitchhike through San Francisco. You walked through San Francisco. I'd walked all the way across the Golden Gate Bridge, north to south, walking all the way through San Francisco, and I wound up on Polk Street, walking up the street, and I was standing at the corner, and there was up on the second floor, there was a room, and the windows were open. It was summer, and there was men in there, and there was a young man about my age looking out the window, and he smiled at me from the balcony, and I knew what Polk Street was, right? If you don't know, Polk Street's notorious and famous. It's kind of a gay center, and I've never had any problems with homosexuals. It's never been an issue to me. Have no interest in that. Men just don't turn me on. But he smiled at me, and I was single at the time, and I looked at him, and I continued on my way. And I always thought, well, that was a moment, that was a potential moment in my life, and my life could have gone a completely different direction. Now, that was 1983 or something like that. Those things were still kind of frowned upon. But I was thinking, wow, that's a whole different route. I mean, can you imagine if I had stayed in San Francisco and set up house in Polk Street, had a completely different life. But to answer your question, I think I would have found someone like Yumiko. I think I needed someone like her. My family had fallen apart. No one really gave a damn. My dad really was getting on with his life. My mom was doing the same. My brother was just as struggling as I was. We had long since disconnected from the extended families. I was really alone, and as much as I wanted the adventure, more than that, I wanted a foundation for my world. And I've told Yumiko many times that if it hadn't been for her, I would. Remember yesterday's video? I mentioned the story of the desert father, the man that I met out in the desert. I probably would have become something like that, a strange, desolate, person wandering the hinterlands. It sounds like something out of Gandalf, right? Strider. Good question though. Darren says, as much as I hate working at a grocery store, I'm grateful there is little risk of losing my job due to the pandemic. I'm also juggling a full-time job and college. I believe in all of you. Wonderful, Darren. That's wonderful. And what is it about the grocery store that you don't like? Some of the best jobs I've ever had are jobs like that. I really enjoyed being a dishwasher, for example, in college. Okay, hold on. Okay, wow. So the comments. I appreciate all your comments, by the way. I'm not complaining about them. Slicer, can you see the chat of all three platforms? I don't know, Slicer. I think so, but that's a good question. I don't know. Is the game? But I know that yesterday was my first thing on Twitch, and by morning I had 4 followers. I guess they're called on Twitch. I was like, who are these people? how do they even find me there? Is the game Marbles? Maybe I don't know what it was. I think maybe it was Marbles. At Michael, thanks. DJ Chico Dulunda. Hello from Twitch. Oh, see, okay, well, I guess so. Well, I guess you are one of them. So I have a question for you, and I'm sorry, I'm not saying your name right. Is it DJ Chico de Luna? DJ Chico de Luna. How in the world did you find me on Twitch? Did you know me from YouTube or Facebook or somewhere else? Or did you just kind of find my video on Twitch and decide that you'd hang out and watch a middle-aged guy talk at the camera in the middle of the night? But thank you. Thank you for letting me. So I guess that answers your question, Slicer. That at least I'm seeing the information from. I think we know the answer. I'm seeing the information from Twitch by virtue of the fact that DJ Chico de Luna's comment came through. I know I was seeing the comment from Facebook because Pat left me a message, and I know that's where she saw me last night. And I know that some of you are coming from YouTube, so it looks like it is. Wow, a lot of power to. Steamer load, steamer yard. Hello from Facebook. Okay, there we got Facebook. We got hello from Twitch, hello from Facebook. Trevor says I'm in the same boat with some medication. It helped, but had plenty of negative effects that weren't worth it for me. Yeah, Trevor, what it did for me was it kind of it dulled the edge, right? I mean, well, one thing I remember taking the medication, and it was like suddenly I could see the world as what I thought was really was. It was like someone had some veil had been lifted, and I saw the world for the first time. Like, this is what the world is. I can't believe it. But then I realized after a while that it was like being doped up, right? The edge was gone, and I missed the edge because the edge to me was what made life. But at the same time, it was also the thing that made me think of bridges. Trevor, I'm in the same boat with medication. Okay, yeah, I'm sorry, that's the one I just read. Chico, I'm watching you on all platforms. Really, Chico? You're seen on all 3 platforms? Okay. How's the quality? Is it any good? Darren, as much as I hate working at a grocery store, I'm grateful there is little risk of losing my. We read that one already, Darren? I thought it seems different. Mr. and Me, finally found your channel again. I started watching you when you went on your walking adventures in Japan. I'm glad you found the channel again, and welcome. Next week, I'll probably be doing a walking adventure in the desert. I've got 2 days off, Thursday and Friday, and I've also got Saturday off. I may go out to the desert for maybe a 48-hour adventure. We'll see. Michael says, "Thank you for sharing all that personal information with us, Kurt." You're very welcome, Michael. Literally, um, if it can help at all, I'll tell you anything at all. There people. We get this feeling that we're alone in the pain that we feel sometimes, and I don't think that's ever quite the case. We're all basically the same thing. You just little different versions of the same animal, right? With the same weaknesses and feelings and curiosities and to different proportions. We're all like a margarita made on, in all the bars of the world. A little bit different, but all kind of the same. Chico, although I am surprised I told that story about San Francisco. I think I've only told that to one other person. That I had a moment where I contemplated. It's like Robert Frost poem. 2 roads diverge in the wood. One one is straight, one's rainbow colored, right? And I gazed curiously down the rainbow colored road. I guess it wouldn't have bothered me, but it just doesn't interest me. Uh, Thinking about bridges, was it the Golden Gate Bridge? There is a documentary on YouTube about the amounts of suicides occurring on that bridge every year. No, it's not. I'll tell you where the bridge is. It's in Santa Barbara. It's above Santa Barbara. There's the road that goes up over the hill. I can't remember what the name of the road is. Up over the hill to the valley where Michael Jackson's Neverland Ranch is. And if John sees this, he'll know because he's from Santa Barbara. And once you get to the top of the hill, just a little bit down, there's a bridge, and there's like a hideaway bar around the corner. There have been a couple of people that have done that. And actually, the last time I drove through there, which was about a year or two ago, I noticed they had erected some barriers just for that reason to keep people from jumping off. Because that was the one. Wumberto says, been on Velaflax. I can't quite read that. SSRI for the last 2 years. It's like you're stuck with no emotions. Only thing that ever worked was diazepam, Valium, but they won't prescribe it for long. Interesting. Yeah, that's how I felt with them. I don't remember what the medication was, but it felt like no emotions. All the edge was gone. Michael says, in regard to a job question, I work at a vet clinic, and it's not where I want to be at. I hope to find a job in the environmental renewable energy sector, but COVID has made job hunting very difficult. Keep it up, Michael. Oh, sorry. There you go. I can show your question. Keep it up, Michael. I wish you all the best in that. I was telling Emily today, just try to find something you can enjoy so you don't have to spend 30 years hating going to work, right? Wumberto says, no rush, mate. Oh, thank you, Wumberto. I appreciate that. He's talking about the answer to the question. Good to see you. Hi, Mindy. Hi. Kind of close to being family I got out here. So Mindy's someone from my real world. It's good to see you, Mindy. Hope everything's well. The family are well. Denny's, U.S. is Denny's. Japan Denny's, US Denny's. Oh, Japan. How do they compare? They might as well not even be the same restaurant. There's no comparison. between Japan, Denny's in Japan and Denny's in the United States. Nothing is the same except for the name. You go in there and they give you a Denny's menu in Japan, and it's full of Japanese family restaurant stuff, gratin and fish, spicy fish egg pasta. You know, you can get a hamburger, but it's going to be very different than what you get in America. It's nothing. Nothing's the same, and it's more expensive in Japan. Darren says 2020 has gone by in the blink of an eye, while also taking forever to end. If that makes sense. That's a good way to describe it, Darren. It has gone by in the blink of an eye, and it does seem to be winding down very slowly. It's like a grand. I was watching The Twilight Zone, and I was watching the episode of The Grandfather's Clock. The old man that his life was tied to the clock. He had to keep winding the clock, and at the last moment, the big pendulum was slowing down. Right? Yeah, that's the end of 2020. RM. Hey, there's a new name. Master Cleanse has a creepy connotation to it, like your body is 1930s Germany, and you blame your inferior fat cells for the bad economy. That goes in the comment Hall of Fame. Wow, that is really good. I like that. Humberto. Regarding Emily and politics, Churchill said, if you're not on the left when you're young, you don't have a heart. And if you're not on the right when you're old, you don't have a brain. I heard another interesting Churchill quote today. He said, when you're walking through hell, keep walking. Churchill was full of them, just like Mark Twain. Hey, are we getting down to the bottom? Oh, goodness. No, we're not. Just RM says, just don't go on that diet and you will be fine. Celery-only diets are the way to go. Really? Tsuyoy boy. Hey, Kurt, has your wife or daughter ran into any of your subscribers? It's funny you ask, because someone asked that question, I think it was 3 days ago. I did this with Emily. And Emily answered that, yes, she was at the Irvine Spectrum, which is just about 2 buildings down from over here, big shopping center. And someone came up to her and said, hey, I know your dad. So yeah, I guess that has happened. Castro District Moreso. What does that mean? Womberto says, A.V. Ducky, if you don't have a family, you end up with nothing to live for. It's hell. Those are pretty strong words, Womberto. I tend to agree with you that having, well, at least to the extent that having a family is very important. It seems that there are people out there that find a way to build, because it really becomes down to human connections, right? And so friends can be the family that you choose. And I think there's lots of people out there that make pretty strong and solid social relationships that are a good, I don't want to use the word substitute, but they're a good similarity to family, right? But I do believe, coming from the guy that wrote a book called Going Alone, I believe that having others in our lives is the number one most important thing. The only reason that I wrote this book was for people like me. It wasn't until you went really deeply alone that you realize that I was in danger of taking my family and all these blessings for granted until I went alone and realized that they're really all I've got. It's me, Chico DeLuna from YouTube. It's me, Chico DeLuna from YouTube. Okay. I get it. DJ. So that's your Chico DeLuna. So that's your handle then on Twitch. Get it. Good. So answer me this, if you don't mind. How the hell did you find me on Twitch? He knows you are from Polk Street. He knows you from your Polk Street days. Oh, listen, I'm never going to live this down. I can still see the smile on that young man's face. It was, you have these moments, right? That change that potentially change everything. I'm a DJ as a hobby. Awesome. Womberto says S on Twitch now. 5 on Twitch. Oh, so 5 people follow me on Twitch. Oh, wow. Thank you, Womberto. Yes, it does work indeed. Wonderful. Maddie. I'm 24, Kurt. Yeah. The meds have helped a lot, and I've changed my diet too. I've also gone vegetarian on the past few years. I've lost around 70 pounds. I'm also in a better place mentally now, thankfully. Maddie, that you just made my evening. I wasn't going to do this tonight. But I thought, what the heck? Because I don't know if you guys know, but back in the day when I was in Japan and people would write to me and they would say, how do you do this YouTube thing? And I would say, just make a video a day, just start the camera up, even if you've got nothing to say. And you'll find your niche, you'll find your voice, and it'll go off. And I was sitting, getting ready for bed. I thought, oh, okay, well, I'll listen to my own words and do this. But anyway, Maddie, I'm so glad just getting your comment there. It really makes me happy that you are finding things that are working and that you're gaining control of the weight and that you're feeling better. That's wonderful. I'm really happy for you. And Maddie, if you're at all interested, I keep saying, wrote this book for people in your age bracket, Going Alone. You can send me an email at the email address scrolling across the bottom, and I'll send you a copy of the book. And for all of those that I promised to send a copy for you, I've got a list. It's just taking me time to get through it. Sorry. Maddie says, going to the doctor and getting help really did change my life. I definitely had a similar situation to you too, Kurt. Wow, that's heavy. If for whatever it's worth, Maddie, I'm so glad that I I never went to that bridge, and I decided instead to open up to my doctor and my counselor and my wife, and made the difficult effort of finding my way forward, because all the good years were after that, right? Um, I keep saying, and Molly will agree with me when he and I talk on Saturday. He and I have talked about this before. Each successive decade, it seems to get more challenging in some ways, but also better in other ways. And I hope that the decades ahead are likewise for you. Thank you for sharing. Okay, Maddie says mental health is so important, isn't it though? More and more lately, I've been thinking about the Zen Buddhists that I knew in Japan and their ability to basically, manage their desire of the world and how that tempered their experience of life. More curious about that as time goes by. Maddie says, Wumberto says to Maddie, Nilo silly as it sounds, vitamin tablets help me as much as meds. Ooh, that's no kidding. My mom keeps telling me to take a one a day multivitamin. Is really is at Maddie one day at a time. Yes. Anybody know this song? One day at a time, one day at a time. Do, 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 do. What TV show is that from? Well, I gave it away because it's in the title. Slicer. At Darren Johnson, 100%. I still remember the beginning of 2020 very vividly. Everything was going great, and now everything sucks. Months passed in the blink of an eye. Yes, indeed. Very much true. Reese says, hey, Kurt, just joined in. What did I miss? A lot. This was a pretty heavy one. And plus, I got some good, juicy stories that I've never told before. So maybe watch this from the start if you get a chance later, Reese. I normally don't say that, but I think you find there's some worthwhile bits in here. Maddie says, at Wumberto, I'm glad to hear they helped you. I've just recently started taking vitamins too. I hope they'll help even more. I'm going to do that. I'm going to get some vitamins myself. Simon, hey Simon, hi Kurt, how you doing? How are things is it Brussels? Is it Brussels where you are? Belgium, right? Brussels, Belgium, right? Simon, I'm glad to see you. A nice name, friendly name from the old days. Darren says, that Slicer, let's hope we can return to some form of normalcy soon. Yes. Simon, missed your stream with Molly as I was at work. Okay, we're doing it again, Simon, this Saturday, 6 a.m. California time, 9 p.m. Japan time. Molly and I are going to have a little edition of The Bench. Trevor says, wow, what happened? Wow, I got to wrap these up. Wumberto, regarding the venlafaxine, if you want to get off of it, please take care of yourself and reduce the dose really slowly. The withdrawals are not to be taken lightly. I hope you're able to find something that helps you long term. Wow, I love the helpful advice you guys are providing one another. Can't stay, gotta get ready for, you guessed it, work. Cheerio. Take care, Simon. It's always good to see you drop by. Wumberto, Maddie, at Maddie, Niwa, strange that what you can miss while the cloud cover is down. Hope you find some peace. Indeed. Slicer, at Darren Johnson, indeed. I'm not even in a country where COVID is wreaking total havoc, and it still sucks here. Wow. Bill, hey Bill, I just finished an hour plus stream about the Fen treasure hunt leading to Moses. You've always got the most interesting comments, Bill. Umberto, a woman once accused Churchill of being a drunk. He said, "Yes, madam, but in the morning I shall be sober and you shall still be ugly." Still be ugly. Did Churchill really say that? I found you on Twitch by simply searching softypapa. Interesting. Wow. Glenn Peck. Good gosh. Hey, Kurt. Somehow you popped up randomly in my feed. Good to see you, friend. So, for those of you who don't know, Glenn, I don't know if you heard my story earlier about the bridge. This talk got very heavy just a while back. I don't think Glenn will mind me telling all of you. Glenn is one of my oldest friends, and was when we first moved to Santa Barbara. Glenn was our next door neighbor. Later, became our roommate, and some Glenn and I have had some incredibly good adventures together, including, remember that night we climbed that sand dune in the middle of the desert. So Glenn goes way back for me. But this conversation got really heavy there for a while, Glenn. We were talking about some deep stuff related to mental illness, depression, and the like. And I told the story of how, I don't know if I even ever told you this, but during our Santa Barbara years, I had some deep problems with depression. I think this was after we were living together. And I'd even had, suicidal thoughts, and I shared with that. And you are someone that would know. I even talked about, again, this is getting heavier than I expected I would be, but I even told someone, I shouldn't smile and laugh about it. I mentioned that there was a bridge involved, and that bridge was that bridge you may remember up over the pass that headed out to the Solvang area. Was that one bridge? I had fantasies about jumping off that bridge back in the days. So anyway, it was a very heavy talk, and the reason I mentioned that is because you'll know that bridge. It's good to see you, Glenn. I'm sorry to ambush you with bittersweet memories that you may not even have known about. Thanks, Umberto. I had the same for you too. Umberto says, "You helped me with your Abandoned Japan videos, Kurt. Escapism when it was needed." I'm really glad to hear that. I've received comments like that in the past, that people found a way away from wherever they were by coming and joining me in the middle of nowhere in Japan. The most touching comments I've ever received were from those who told me that they had no means to ever do it due to disease or disability, and that they could come and join me in the desert, or not the desert, but in the mountains of Japan by virtue of that fact. And I'll tell you, there were at least 2 people that contacted me over the years and told me that exact same situation, being wheelchair bound or bed bound, and with no chance of ever doing any of these things that I would describe, because at least even most of you won't, or people that watch my videos never did, but at least they could tell themselves that maybe they could, right? These people knew that they couldn't. And I'll tell you, that was an animating focus for me when I was out there in those mountains, and I had a thought in my head that I really wanted to share, that was really welling up inside. I just, just remember the people, them, and I would just speak my mind. There's that one video, I distinctly remember one video in particular called Just Live, where that thought came to mind. I was kind of embarrassed. Emotion was rising up in me. I was having a lot of fun in the madness of the rain in the mountains in Japan. And I remembered, share exactly what you're feeling inside, Kurt, because there may be someone out there that may never have a chance to do anything like this. Sorry, I'm again being long-winded. Hence K2 says, we're glad you got help, Kurt, and you're around to be the center of this little community. Really appreciate all your goo. I'm sorry, GU. Okay, hence K2. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to go silly at the end of such a heartening comment that means so much to me. Thank you very much. It really means a lot to me, hence K2. Thank you. Generosity. Oh, generosity. The goo is generosity. Sorry. There we go. Inglenese says, "Hey, Simon." There we go. Inglenese, "I'll be watching Saturday." Wonderful. Wonderful. Christopher says, "If you could talk to your teenage self, what is the first thing you would tell the younger you? Hmm. Don't. It's a good question. I'm really struggling to think of something. I'm imagining I can only say one thing. First of all, I would imagine if what anything I could say would have any impact on me. Um, Maybe don't worry so much. I spent I've spent a huge portion of my life, including up until now, worrying over things that I can't even remember what they were. I know now that having an internal compass that I've managed to try to tune towards my north star of what I would consider to be well-being for myself and others is really the only guide, the main and only guide that I need, right? Is to be on that path, try to keep my life in that direction of that north star of well-being. And the worry that I've had that have cost me so much stress and anxiety and thoughts of bridges was simply just a terrible waste of time. I don't know if that young me would have even listened to me though. Can't wait to hear about your backup plan, Kurt. Yeah, I'll tell you my backup plan, but not tonight. Uh, Womberto says 14 UK time for the bench on Saturday. Yes, indeed. Glenn, yes, you remember the bridge. Yeah. Glenn, I don't know if you ever knew how dark my thoughts got sometimes though. Were you aware of that? Did I ever did I ever share that with you? I don't think I ever knowingly kept anything from you. You are one person to whom I would always have said anything. Womberto Biago, and I still would, because you and I went through a period of life together, Glenn, that is formative for some, and as divergent as our lives may have gone, although I think more and more you and I, if and when we get together again, we're going to find our lives have converged probably more than they have diverged. I think. Womberto at Trev, yeah, hovering close at the moment, tired, stopping before, but got weird electric shocks in my brain, sort of like a fit. Interesting. I'm sorry to hear that. Ron. Hey, there's Ron. Hi, Ron. Good morning, Kurt. Let me guess. Israel time. Is it about eight o'clock in the morning? 8:30? 9 in Israel? How's the sun shining in Israel this morning, Ron? Man, just to spend a week where you live, Ron, to wake up and walk the streets of the cities and the towns of such ancient history. Amazing. Monster Rocket. I don't believe you ever label your videos as ASMR, but you do often hear that from viewers. Your voice is always so relaxing. Oh, maybe I should do that. Although that would be edging in on Victor's corner of the market, huh? I get a smile every time I think of Victor. That guy's so genuine, so interesting. I love his laundry videos. Womberto, and thank you for the nice words. Strange that we know you quite well, but you don't really know us as well, isn't it? Yeah, that is an interesting thing. So when I do meet you sometimes, when folks come, when they would come to Japan and we would meet, and when likewise, happened a couple times here. I always feel kind of like like at a disadvantage because people know me, but I know so little of them. But maybe this is a chance to reconcile that. Slicer, are you in a hotel currently? No, this is where I live. So I live in an apartment community, and this is in our community. It's like a walled fortress, ginormous place. There's probably 2,000 units here, and there's these like big sections. And this is the main street down. And I'll lift this up a little bit. You guys can see there's a big pool down there, and there's a fountain right here, and there's a cafe right over there, and computer lounge and all kinds of stuff. And up in the front is likewise the same. So this is home. Chico de Luna says, I am happy you never stayed in San Francisco and never jumped. I've been watching your YouTube videos for so long. I missed you when you stopped. I am so happy you are now back to streaming. Thank you very much. you can thank Emily for that. She's the one that came to me one day, and I think she was realizing that, with the empty nest syndrome, that mom and dad needed to find some new thing in life. And she said, "Dad, do you remember that thing you used to do in Japan, making videos every day?" She says, "You need to do that again." So I can do that. Thank you. Although I wonder what would have happened if I'd stayed in San Francisco. Wow. WN Spider Monkey 2358. Want to become famous? Buy followers, primes, and views on Big. There you go. Wow, there you go. That's my first spam. Where did that come from? Did that come from Twitch? Glenn, uh, you hinted at darkness, but no direct conversations. Agree on convergence. I look forward to our next adventure, even if it is just in rocking chairs on a porch. Interesting. So I did hint at that. I think I was a little bit shy about that. It was after you and I had gone our separate ways that I sought help. And but you're right. Yeah, I think you and I have far more convergence than ever before. When are you going to come out and see me sometime? Or likewise, maybe I can't see you. How is Austin in November? Good morning, Kurt from the UK. Have you ever done any podcasts? Yes, I do, Josh. I do have a podcast. It's called Stoic Poetry. Um, I made that podcast specifically for a chapter of the book that I'm writing, the sequel to Going Alone, called The Good Life. And there's a section in there of Stoic poetry that I used the label Stoic Poetry as a type of thing. And I decided to make audio portions for that, and I threw up a podcast to do that. So if you look for Stoic Poetry in any of your favorite podcast stream, you'll find it. I'm thinking about making these into podcasts because through Steamer Load, the software I'm using for do this, I can pull down an audio version. I can easily package that up into the podcast and throw it on my podcast. Hence, K2 says, "It's okay about getting silly about goo. I was just trying to hit backspace, but hit send instead." I, thank you for your patience, hence K2. Ron, we all got dark thoughts. Just gotta learn to not sink in them dark thoughts, because damn, they sure do be tempting. Boy, they do. Emily was so small. Good to see you back. You didn't change. You didn't change. Really? Wow. Well, thank you. Although I'll tell you that I think inside I've changed a lot. Coming back, if I, Japan, I was like at the loose end. It was like a man at a potter's wheel that had been trying to make a particular type of cup, and I tried and tried and tried, and that was Going Alone in a band in Japan, and I was just kind of worn out with trying to make that kind of cup, right? And then when I came to America, it was like taking up a new hobby, and everything changed, and it allowed me to do some exploration and personal discovery that really opened up a new world for me. And at this point, I'm done, right? I mean, I could kick off tomorrow, and that's okay. Everything is wrapped up. My wife and daughter know I love them. I've left them, they'll be financially all right if I die, as long as I'm employed, because the nice insurance will kick in. But most importantly, everything that I've ever wanted to say is done. I don't want to die, but I feel like my life's work is done, is complete. It's right here. This book, everything I've wanted to say is in there. Anything that I do after that is after dinner mints. Let's see. Oh, Wumberto says, "How is Lyle?" You remember Lyle? Lyle's my brother. I remember the video where you went and looked around the Air Force Base near his home. That's right. Lyle's doing well. I saw him. I was out at his place about a month ago. He's doing well. His family as well. I think he'd be a good person to have for this conversation about the COVID impact, because I think he's got small kids, and having everybody home and a challenge, just like so many families. But thank you for asking about Lyle. What is your favorite late night junk food? Let's see. That's a good question. I don't have really a favorite late night junk food, but if I do get up in the middle of the night and have something, it's typically a little bit of ice cream. Yep. Michael, heading to bed. It's late here in Michigan. Good night, Kurt, and the rest of y'all. Stay safe this weekend, but not too safe. Right back at you. Thank you, Michael. Good to see you. I'm going to be joining you in just a minute. Well, not literally. Ron, Kurt, you got to do Stoic poetry again. They were lovely. Really? Did you like those? I kind of felt like they kind of had a limited audience. They served a purpose because they put me into a frame of mind for trying to convey a particular message that I was trying to do. Thanks for the feedback, Rod. Austin, Glenn says, Austin is awesome in November, but I'm an elections judge and plan to self-quarantine after election day. We should look at spring. There are lots of great rides through hill country. Don't you guys have your bat cruise in the spring there in Austin as well? I would love to go see the bat cruise sometime. And I imagine you're very busy this November, Glenn. Man, I would. This is the time for you. Uh, Wamberto says, good to hear. Thank you, Ron. Oh, and it's 8 a.m. Ah, I got it. If you want, I will sell you a picture of the area I live. It's a beautiful place with beautiful view. I don't think I've ever sent you a picture of it. Yeah, please do. I would love to see that. Or just tell me the name of the place. Send me an email, Ron. Tell me the name of the place and I'll look it up. Michael Rader. Haha, I feel like that guy in the window in Polk Street now. Anybody that doesn't know what that reference is, if you came in late, you'll have to watch the video from the start. That's an interesting story. And with that, I'm going to go ahead and sign off. And thank you all for joining me. I appreciate it, and this is a lot of fun. I had no idea I would go for an hour and 15 minutes. I actually started the camera with nothing to say. Just goes to show you that when you get a community of like-minded, interesting folks like you together, we can that can be a catalyst for fun and interesting. Okay, thank you, Ron. You're going to send that. Slicer says bye. Wamberto says thank TTFN, buddy. Thank you, Ron. I have a good night and take care. Chico de Luna, good night. Good night, everybody. Be safe again, but not too safe. Talk to you soon. Maybe tomorrow.